welcome to Yonkers Public Library Crestwood Branch program called The New Sustainable You. And today we're going to talk about winter self care. But first, an introduction from the librarian, the branch manager of Crestwood Library.
All right. So thank you, Jackie. So grateful to you for always providing us with up-to-date, cutting-edge information about important environmental and sustainable practices, because that's where this came about. We were thinking about what can we do to make ourselves more aware, and what can we do to also make a difference in this world. So that's where this was born. And I really want to commend Jackie for, taking her passion for the environment and taking her passion for like DIY and figuring things out and sharing and learning and caring and creating this Sustainable You program. We've already been together for a year, and that's amazing. And thanks to Jackie, we have embarked on this Hygge type adventure, which I think Jackie will tell us more about, but I'm really glad that we are doing this today because we're highlighting this concept because our YPL long range plan highlights delivering an exceptional library experience. So we're doing some of the practices in our library, and our vision for the Yonkers Public Library is that it improves life in Yonkers for everyone by fostering literacy, cultural and connection and community. And Hygge encompasses all that and more. So I'm going to leave it to Jackie to explain different self-care concepts and things that we can do to take better care of ourselves and our world around us. It's all you, Jackie. And I do want to thank Friends of Crestwood Library for funding a lot of these initiatives that Jackie brainstorms and brainchilds, and then the crew gets on board and rolls out. So thank you, friends.
Yes, thank you, friends, because they have supported this program. So today we're going to talk about winter self care and much of what we can do so that we are not absolutely, positively polluting the earth in search of softer skin or maybe not chapped lips. And there are ways of achieving that. So to get started, and I do want to say welcome everybody who's there. So let's start with a little slide. So this is a picture outside my deck today. And what makes this picture so great is that you can see the ice that outlines the branches on the tree outside. It's a magnolia tree, a tree that does better in the warmer weather, that blooms in full bloom very early in Georgia, somewhere around March or April. We get the same. Actually, it blooms a lot earlier. Definitely March. For us, it's April and May because we're a colder state. But if you notice, you'll see the pines and the different trees in the background, and they're all outlined in ice. And that is the way it should be because these trees are in hibernation. And they have a protection. They have their bark. They have different structures under their bark that protects them from the harsh winter weather. When the branch dies, it breaks off, but there are definite, they have sap that protects, their outer covering. We don't really. I mean, we do have some protections, but when you live in the north, you really need to take care of your skin, your inside, your outside. But how do you do that without buying tons of chapstick containers? I digress. Let's move on. So, when we're talking about things like your skin, your lips, your organs, the best thing to do is to use sustainable ingredients, provided that you're not allergic to them. Most people aren't allergic to jojoba oil or shea butter. I know someone who's allergic to most of the things that are on that list, but that is very rare. And by allergic, I don't mean choking and needing to get an EpiPen. I'm talking about maybe a minor irritation. But what we have here is a list of ingredients and I hate using the word natural, but they come from nature. It's not something that human beings make themselves. We can process these things and we grow things that help the different plants and animals who help to process these things, but we don't actually process these things. We don't grow these things. Beeswax comes from the bees. Um, it's from their honeycomb, and it makes for an exceptional protection on the skin. Cocoa butter comes from the cocoa plant, mango butter from mangoes, jojoba oil from the sinensis bush, the little fruit pods. Jojoba oil is an excellent liquid oil as opposed to an ester, and we'll talk about an ester. And vitamin E oil is typically harvested from almonds. So I think what's important to understand is that uh, what are the different ingredients that would go into things like solid lotion bars and lip balm, because that's what I spent my time making last night. Before I go on, does anybody have any questions? Anything you'd like to add to the comments? Okay, I am going to move on. So one of the things that I looked at in terms of the research is what is in each of these items that I'm going to use to make the things that I'm making. One of the problems with beeswax is that pesticides have been detected in the beeswax, and it can accumulate. When you get something that is designated as organic, um, and it has to have a special designation. There's this whole industry behind getting something designated and stamped as organic, as real, licensed. And when that is there, it is organic. They've actually come up with a way to decontaminate beeswax. Thank God. So not that this would interest anybody, but the chemical compositions of beeswax is that uh, it's made up of free fatty alcohols, saturates, free fatty acids, and esters. What does that mean? Well, it means it's not a butter, it's a wax. And it means that that wax is very protective. And it has to be. If you think about it, what protects the bees? Um, and it is very difficult to melt the wax down. I'll move on because we don't need to know this, but it is fun to read about it. Okay. Um, Before we get to Huga, I would like to show you something. Let me get to the camera. Okay, so everybody's here. All right, cool. So this is beeswax that was purchased by Friends of Crestwood Library. Thank you. It's a pound of beeswax, and the beekeeper lives in Florida, so he has a lot of wax. He can harvest from the bees um, cyclically, as opposed to boxing them up for the winter. And the wax is incredibly hard. I'm not going to slam my head with it, but that's what. No, stop that. That's my dog. Stop. Shh. Be quiet. We're doing Huga soon. So you melt this. I will have the recipe at the library, and my hope is to have the ingredients for you so that you can try it at home. So I took beeswax and I took cocoa butter, which they derive from the cocoa pod, and they pull it apart and then they process it. That is cocoa butter. Well, that's cocoa butter broken up, but oh my God, it smells just like chocolate. Why? Because this is chocolate, and this is what you put in chocolate. And it too is also, this is a butter, but it's also a fat. Um, and this is what you use, many people use to moisturize their skin. It's really fantastic. Phenomenal moisturizer. Let me go to the next thing. Ah, I put a little bit of each of these things in. Shea butter. Um, shea butter this came from Ghana. It is used in cooking. It's used to make meals, but it's also used for moisturizing. And it too is waxy creamy. It's also a fat. I put it in the lip balm. Many people are not allergic to this. And then we have mango butter. I'm like, I don't think I started eating mangoes until I was, I don't know, 50. I don't think I ever saw a mango. I know that sounds so weird because so many people eat them. Maybe I did eat them. But has anybody ever heard of mango butter? Would anybody like to share? Well, anyway, and please feel free to unmute yourself and share. This is
I did
mango.
have a question about beeswax.
Give me a question. Oh
You
my God.
mentioned you mentioned that it's they're prone to get pesticides, and I can only imagine because bees are so important in our agriculture that they're just pollinating everything around them, and the use of pesticides in agriculture is just so pervasive that there's no way of getting around that. Even if you tried to get beeswax from a different location, chances are they're pollinating stuff that's got pesticides. Is that a true statement? Is there a way to get really good sourced beeswax?
Yes. And in fact, you know one. This is my
But
friend Valentine. You
mhm.
do, she sources up very good beeswax. There is a woman who has a hive out in Long Island, and I can't think of a worse place to have a beehive. However, hers is pretty good. Um, it's difficult to find a place that has pure beeswax. Um, and they've been experimenting with decontaminating beeswax, but there are places, especially if you keep the hive very, very local. I have another friend of mine who's a beekeeper. She does it on purely because she loves it. Um, and she keeps her bees in one section. She makes sure she has a pollinator garden and she doesn't spray anything. There are plenty of places like that. Are they 100% pure? Probably not. But considering how many of you out there use Tide laundry, Dawn dish detergent, you take Tylenol, you use bar soaps from, um, oh, I just lost the bar soap. Okay, whatever. Commercially made bar soaps. So those are all places that I think you get enough toxins in that you can say, okay, this beeswax has been designated as organic, that I would accept it. Because what I'm talking about today, and I'm glad you asked me the question, what I always speak about in these discussions is that we are making small little steps that will accumulate, and they'll accumulate intensely over time, just as toxins accumulate intensely over time. Anything you can do to change your exposure is a favor to yourself. And it's small steps, it is little steps, but they're significant ones. And it's a question of what you expose yourself to and what you don't. It took me years to figure that out and tease that apart. And a lot of it was through this program, really doing research. And I'm getting ahead of myself. So, yes, there are places that you'll get as organic as you can in beeswax, but could it be that they're 100% pure? Probably not. That's the bad news. But the good news is you do have sources that are exceptional and they know where they're sourcing them from. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Um, so what I also added, and you know what's missing? The cocoa butter. And cocoa butter has not cocoa butter, coconut oil. Ooh. It has a very high and fast, a low melting point where it doesn't take a lot of heat to melt coconut oil in a solid state. Many people say, well, if I use coconut oil, I'll get pimples. Probably not. Yeah, not on your fingers because the skin on your hands is different from the skin at the bottom of your feet, has different from the skin in your ears. And each thing, each placement, it's all the same skin, but it doesn't react all the same. And you will need more moisturizer on your hands than you will, let's say, on your face or on your back. Skin is different. It's skin, but it's different in different locations and it gets different wear. And that's what you want to think about. Um, Everything I used in the lip balm, and I have plenty of lip balm. I have little itty bitty samples, and I have big ones. I call it Jackstick. No, I'm kidding. Sounds like chapstick. But what I use here is flavoring: strawberry, blue raspberry, and cherry. It doesn't have any sugar in it, although cocoa butter. Nah, it's all fats. And I sourced up the flavoring from a company called Bulk Apothecary. And I didn't do that because, they're giving me money or something like that. I sourced up one that was a good company, a clean company, and one that tells you everything that's in their ingredients. You go to their ingredients page and they'll tell you everything. It actually seems pretty scary when you look at it. It's not. Not everything is a deadly chemical. Everything is a chemical, but not something that'll kill you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slides. Any questions before I go on? Ew, wrong slide. Okay. Okay, so let's
Quick
go.
question.
Yeah,
Vitamin E. The whole purpose was to like avoid having to buy multiple little tiny plastic containers. When I
right.
usually get vitamin E, it's from little plastic containers at the vitamin store.
That's right. So
Is
what do
there
you do?
any other way of getting it?
There is, and you're gonna like it maybe less. They sell vitamin E in glass containers. I could source that up. But the thing is, let me escape out of this. So the thing is that you have to make a decision. Um, you have to make a decision again about what you want to avoid, and where you want to source it up. And also, the other decision you have to make is how much of it are you going to use? Yes, Matthew, I know that they're seeing my camera feed. I'm not doing this slideshow right now. You have to decide for yourself that how much of this stuff am I going to use? Am I going to keep using vitamin E oil? Chances are, if you've used it before, you know you're going to use it again. It doesn't bother your skin. So go out, source up a glass bottle. Um, I know that's difficult online, but there are some stores that have the glass bottles. Is any of what I'm saying easy? Some things are easy. Some things are not as easy. Some things will take an effort. But considering what shape we are in and what shape the earth is in, with climate change and pollution, I think on an individual level, we could make an effort. I don't know, just saying. Okay, let me continue. Long one. Okay, does everybody see my screen? So, with this in mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about hygge. It is a trendy term, or it was a trendy term a few years ago. For me, it's always trendy because it is originally a Norse word, Norwegian word, and it probably goes back to the 1500s. Uh, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Hikyan, um, meaning hug or comfort. Um, but it was adopted by the Danish, by Denmark, and it has now known in its current iteration. It is known for coziness, a warm, and its accoutrements, its objects, and not objects, but its symbols are a warm fireplace, coffee, friends, sociability, happiness, togetherness, cozy togetherness. Um, in the book um, by Meek Viken, uh, and I will show it when I'm featured on the little book of hygge, goes into great detail about how the Danish have these secrets to happy living. That's the title. The Danish secrets to happy living. And especially during this time in winter, what are some of the problems that we encounter in the winter? What do we have a problem with? It is cold and it is dark. And that can be very difficult for some people to deal with. A lot of us struggle with that. You know, when winter comes, how many friends do you have who will say to you, "Oh my God, we're going to standard time, and now we're going to have less light." Um, and so these are ways, because remember that Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, they're up north. Okay, and so something like, I'm trying to think, in January in Sweden, the sun rises on a particular day in January at 8:27 a.m. Rises, and I'm not talking like higher in the sky, and then sets at 2:55. So think about our for us, the sun sets, especially at the angle we're at, the sun sets now at 4:45. I think today is going to be 4:45. So we're getting that light from 7:20, 7:30 to 4:45. Their time is 8:27 to 2:55. That's a short day. And then of course you have Antarctica and the North Pole. They have 6 months of dark and 6 months of light, and it varies towards the end of each cycle. But the idea here with the Scandinavians is, well, what do you do to combat that darkness, the freezing cold? A fire, friends, gathering together. You know, they didn't come together and say, what are we going to do to fight this? It happens because we're drawn to what is warm, to what is cozy, to what is fun. I know, of course, the picture of my cat socks, very silly, but it's funny, and it's not meant to be serious. It's not meant to be heavy. Uh, a lightness of spirit that is also ecological, because when you are feeling light, you are feeling strong, and you can do a lot. Not that you can't do that in a you know a weakened state. But when you lift your spirits, when there is that self care, an overused statement, maybe an overused phrase. But when there is that self care, you can take care of what's around you as well. Because while we have to take care of ourselves, we also have to take care of nature. I know I sound like a 60s kid, but yeah, that's still our responsibility. Our trees, our grass, not using pesticides, not cutting everything down, because without the trees and the grass, we don't have oxygen. Let me move on. So when it's dark outside, of course, here comes a big pitch for the library. Today, we're going to practice hygge again with homemade hot chocolate, something warm for the inside. And when we bring people into the library and we're gathered together, there are the books there. We have it decorated. It is warm, it is friendly, it is cozy. And to finish this out, now I'm not done just yet, but I want you to remember to feed the birds outside. And Crestwood Crew has put together a kit so that you can make a homemade bird feeder. What do I mean by that? Oh my goodness. Let's talk about it. So I went shopping for bird feeders, the plastic ones you put outside or the ones you hang from your window. I have one straight back there. It's clear. You can't really see it. But what are the objects that are around us that we can work with? Well, for one thing, the way we package things, we put them in plastic bags. They're biodegradable. In my little bird feeder kit, I have a pine cone. And then I have another little bag of seeds with a cotton string. Guess what? All of these things are biodegradable. And I take my pine cone, I slather it with peanut butter. If you're allergic to peanut butter, you can use what else could we use? Anyone want to give me a suggestion? No suggestions, huh?
Honey?
Could use honey. That's harder because it's more liquidy. But you can use it. You can slather it with honey. I would suggest wrapping it in wax paper and putting it in the freezer. So after the honey hardens, right, you roll it in this nice, convenient bag of seeds. You put the seeds out or you sprinkle it with the seeds. And then you tie the top. I'm not going to tie it all the way because this is someone's kit. And you hang it on a branch. This has got to be the third time we've offered this. And this year, more than any other year, we have so many kits. We made 200, probably more. But what else could we use other than a pine cone to feed our birds? Oh, and incidentally, we have a little paper instruction. One day we won't have a paper instruction, we'll just have a QR code. But for now, we're doing good. We're okay because that paper can shred. So we put the seeds back in the bag. What else could we use? A toilet roll. When your toilet roll is empty, slather it with peanut butter or vegetable shortening. It is a little messy, but I will say your hands feel nice and soft after getting all gooey with peanut butter or vegetable shortening. And then you roll it in the seeds and hang it outside. And the birds are so light, they're so small that they can fit on it, sit on the little toilet roll covered in, or the bird feeder now, covered in seeds, and they can eat from it. You know what else eats it? The squirrels. And guess what? They have to live too. Okay? Any other questions before I move on? So we were talking about oils and things like that. something I wanted to mention to you. So today I've spoken about the lip balm, and this is solid lotion. It's bar lotion. And all you need to do is use it the same way you would soap. You rub it over your hands where you have really particularly dry spots. Okay. And if you hate it, you throw it into the dirt and it degrades. It's biodegradable. And we put it in a paper bag. It's very easy to use. Um, I mean, of course, going like this to a bottle is the easiest thing to use. But is it really the best thing to use? No, because that bottle has to go somewhere. You're going to eventually throw the bottle out and it goes into a landfill. And this is not a popular opinion even now. I know some people are very accepting of sustainability, but it is difficult at times to make the adjustment. But once you make the adjustment, being sustainable ends up being something that you can do with your children. You can make all this with kids. Kids love filling things. And I used cardboard lip balm containers. Okay. So this too is going to biodegrade. And I just used a little filler. And you know what? Yeah, I got it over the package, but so what? It's going to biodegrade. That's what I love about these. And it's made with the same stuff that you use the lotion with. One day I'm going to make my own soap out of olive oil. That's going to be interesting, but we're not up to that yet. Any questions? Oh, you know what I forgot too? I forgot that with Huga, there are candles. And guess what kind of candles I use? I use beeswax candles. Um, some people in the health community say that beeswax candles are very clean and very clearing. They're decidedly different from paraffin. Paraffin is made from, oil. And you could use a soy candle as well. But this whole idea of Huga is also that idea of warmth and sustainability. I'm going to add it, even though they don't say that. Does anyone have any questions so far? Because this week we're going to be offering all of these things that I made at the library. Does anybody want to share anything?
I had a question about the vitamin C serums. Do you know how moisturizing those are?
Vitamin C, say it again.
Vitamin C serums.
I don't. I don't. But you know what I would like you to do? If you put it in the chat or you send me an email, I will research that for you because I'm a reference librarian trainee. Had to put the trainee at the end. Um, anything, what I do know is anything that is a fatty acid, anything that is a fat, an ester, a wax, and a butter are moisturizing. I would wonder how it was manufactured. I know, I will say this. I have heard and I've read some reports that vitamin C can be very brightening for the skin. I'm not sure what that means in terms of lifting or, shine on the skin. I don't know. That I don't know. I just know that when I use cocoa butter or I use any of these oils, my hands feel better. And I know that all the dead skin starts to soften. But it's something you have to be consistent with. And also, I do recommend that people ask their doctors. I know some dermatologists aren't fond of homemade things, but not everybody's allergic. And I would wonder, I mean, if you have a chocolate allergy, obviously cocoa butter is not the thing for you. But there are so many butters out there that there's lots of ways of getting around an allergy. And I'm allergic to so many things, just so many. Are there any other questions? And Deborah, please send me that information. I'm at jleone@ypl.com. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for answering my question.
Not that I did it right, but I'll try. But I will look that up. Oh yeah, vitamin C oil serum. Anything that says serum obviously has oils in it. I would want to know how it was manufactured. That would be my big thing. And me, when I start to do my research, I start to go into what's the company, where do they get the material, where do they source it from, is it organic? And not that I'm doing, oh, I'm going to the, University of Google. I would want to know the whole way. What are the papers that were written by it? But again, I'm a reference librarian, and that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. Source up information that is current, timely, and accurate. Ooh. Ugh. Okay. I know some people take fish oil, which is what I was going to mention. This is good to help to reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. Fish oil is used around the world. And it is not curative, but it has health benefits. Okay. Other than that, today I want to talk about some of the books that we have. I know that we have some. I know we have the little book of Huga at the library. And this is another one I want to talk about. The little book of Leka by the same writer of Huga. And this person, he works for the Happiness Research Institute. And again, it's sort of that Scandinavian culture of how to get through, how to have a happier life. And it's not through owning things, it's through your experiences. It's through friends and peacefulness and coziness, according to him. This will be in our library, so we will have it there. Another book that I suggest, and I do this every month, every single month, is Simply Living Well. This book we do have on hand. And this book gives you recipes and ways of getting around the household products that are irritants, have toxins, are chemically too strong. And what do you do? What do you do to combat that? What do you do to bring down your exposure to these things? And what I like about this particular book, is that she uses each of these recipes and then tells the reader, test it for yourself. And it just means a little effort and a little more work on your part, but nothing that you can't handle. Does it really take that much work to cut up a bunch of lemons, put lemon skins in a jar? What if you're making lemonade? Which is the other point I've been trying to make all these months. Actually, I've been doing this program for 2.5 years. All this time, I've been saying, do the DIY, make your own things. Did I give you I didn't give you my last slide. Oh, hold on. Wait a second there. And these are the takeaways for today. So read and research, and make sure you're researching something that is reliable. And how do you find out if something's reliable? Well, you go to the library, you call the librarian and say, do you think this journal about beeswax is reliable? Or what's a reliable journal or book that will give me accurate information about allergens or toxins? And guess what? That's what the librarian does. Points you in the direction of good, accurate, reliable, timely information. The next one is make it yourself. DIY. One of the DIYs I suggest is make your own floor cleaner out of vinegar and lemon peels. Does that work on a marble floor? Not so great. No, it pits a marble floor. So what can you use instead? One that's alcohol based. Not the best solution, but it does dry. Another ecological takeaway: socialize with friends and family. It's good for your health, especially if that social circle that you create around yourself are people you trust, are like-minded in terms of kindness and what is wholesome and trustworthy and good. Oh boy, we're getting philosophical today. Create a warm atmosphere. That could be anything: warm food, candles, good food, coffee, going to the library, or oh wait, there is, in the Huga book, they talk about going to a cafe, like a Huga cafe, called, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Okay, I'm going to really say it now. Gezelligkeit. Gezelligkeit is going to like a cafe or a restaurant with good food, good family, friends. So you're taking the hygge out of your home and you're bringing it. You're going somewhere else to experience it. It's definitely more social in the world around you. There is another concept. Glühwein, and I didn't put it on the slides. Let me get out. Oh, and the last takeaway is keep things simple. But let me tell you what Glühwein is. So Glühwein is window weather. It's the kind of weather that you're home and you're looking out the window and there's lots of rain and it's windy and really yucky outside and it's cold, and you're behind the other side of the window just watching it. But it's not just that. It's that feeling of being safe and comfortable. So these are the things that we want to present at the Crestwood Library to make the winter go by quicker and to make it cozy and warm and comfortable to the patrons who visit our library. And don't forget, homemade hot chocolate today. Any questions? Does anybody have any comments or anything they'd like to share? Well, if there's nothing, we will be next month. I don't believe I'll be on Zoom, but I might be. Next month, we're going to talk about prepping our gardens. We got to prep our gardens.
I was going to say good presentation and stay moisturized.
Thank you. Don't forget to send me that email because now I'm interested in vitamin C serum. I have seen it. I just don't know. I've never investigated it to look what's in it. So I do want to see what's in it. That'll be pretty good. I mean, maybe avocado oil is in it. I don't know. Pretty good. But thank you. Thank you for joining me today. And next month, when we start to talk about prepping the garden, it doesn't matter whether you have a backyard. If you have a pot and dirt, you can grow your own parsley or basil at the window. Or come and grab ours at the Crestwood Library. Okay, so thank you for joining me.